Welcome to the Ben Bus. I'm Benny King, and you're listening to Hawkeye State of Mind. Now, the Iowa Hawkeyes football season has unfortunately come to a close, and although there's certain things that I would take back, certain games that I wish we would have pulled out, and certain things that I wish could have gone our way, it was still a pretty successful season, and there were several achievements set this season, so I'm going to break some of that down, as well as a triumphant finish to the season over Vanderbilt in the Reliaquest Bowl. So, first and foremost, just want to really appreciate Mark Gronowski, not only just transferring from South Dakota State, but everything that he did for us this season, and he's now the all-time wins leader in college football history. I mean, a lot of credit to that is how many years he's been in college. Would have been great to have another year from him, but his eligibility is unfortunately up, but we did get the year with him, and Mark Gronowski, really appreciate you coming and being a Hawkeye. You'll be a Hawkeye for life. Really appreciate it, and really wish we could have had another year of eligibility with you. You're worth every dime we paid you in NIL. I know that there were some passing concerns, and I get that, but you could feel it when he was on the field. It was electric. When he went out in the Indiana game, we didn't look the same. There were several great moments, and especially when the passing game came alive against Vanderbilt. All the rushing touchdowns against Rutgers, and then several plays against Oregon where he gave us the lead late. We ended up choking that one, but honestly, at the end of the day, Mark Gronowski, really appreciate you for this season, and I know we would really want some games back and would maybe want some of those drives back and some of those games where we were right there, because every game that we lost, we were just so close, but really appreciate you for being a Hawkeye. Then another player that we were losing is Drew Stevens, the kicker. I've been hard on him at times for the Nebraska game a few years ago, for some kicks against Rutgers, and then, of course, the one against Indiana that was huge this year. But honestly, he was so huge in games this season. The kicks that he made against Oregon were huge, and then in Vanderbilt, when we needed him to make those field goals, we really needed him to clutch up for us, and he was able to knock them through. There were some concerns about maybe the hashes or maybe he kicks too low, but at the end of the day, really appreciate you for everything that you did for the Hawkeyes, not only this year, but over the past few years, and you really showed up huge in some big moments this season. And then arguably the biggest part about this season is the accolades that Kirk Ferentz set. And 26 seasons with the Hawkeyes. I believe that number's correct. If it's not, it's somewhere around there. Either way, ridiculous year and ridiculous tenure for Kirk Ferentz, and really appreciate him coming back next year. But you think about what he's done, as it was all the way back when, I believe it was the UMass game, when he became the all-time leader in Big Ten wins. No Big Ten coach has won more games than him. That was a really great moment. And then when he was able to clinch the victory in the Reliaquest Bowl with his team, he was also the leader in bowl wins in the Big Ten as well. And a big problem was, since Penn State, when we beat them back in 2021, hadn't won a ranked game, and the same trend did continue this year. Losses to Indiana, Oregon, USC, Iowa State, and that one even hurts more because it's Iowa State. And then, honestly, all their team is depleted now, so Iowa might have an easier one next year against Iowa State. Not really that fair, but unfortunate that their whole team is getting gashed. But he was able to come off with a huge victory to end the season. And honestly, this was really to set the tone, because this was huge for the conference, this was huge for the team, and this was huge to say, hey, Iowa can beat ranked teams. They are still that type of team, and I know they haven't been for years, but it was such a great triumphant end to the season. And if it was the end of Kirk Ferentz's career, obviously that would be unfortunate, but at least he would have gone out on a high note. But it does look like he's going to be back. Now, how did the game go? I am honestly so happy to talk about this game, because you look at the final score, Iowa 34-27, and it wasn't always like that. For a while, it was 21-3. Iowa was leading in the fourth. I think that's what's crazy, because we were winning by a lot, and you look at the final score and you're like, oh, you only won by 7. But if you were watching this game, and if you've watched Iowa really all year, when they play ranked teams, when they get into these types of games, you just had a feeling that Iowa was going to choke it, unfortunately. That's how I felt the whole second half. I'm just waiting for things to go wrong. And even though they did, I was very proud of the plays that this team made. And not only plays by Mark Gronowski, which honestly, the trick play was such a ballsy move. The flea flicker sometimes works, but the way, it wasn't even completely open, but Gronowski places the ball perfectly. And you're talking about just an incredible game on a lot of fronts for the offense. First off, Vanderzee, what a catch that was. That was a Sunday catch right there. Reese Vanderzee, he's coming in clutch. He had a huge an absolutely huge catch against Michigan State to end up finishing that one off. And then let's talk about DJ Vandy. Now, this guy, I mean, he's not a true freshman. I think he's a redshirt freshman. But, I mean, to think about the fact that we could have this guy for a few more years is huge. 7 catches, 146 yards, and a touchdown. Looks like Iowa's still tight end you. I hate to tell you. They've got a lot of players in the NFL currently, and then you look at guys like Vandy. Vanderbilt could not stop him. I could not believe it. And he was a big part of that trick play, but, I mean, he even had some great catches against Nebraska about a month ago. It's crazy how long it takes to get to the postseason in college football. It's kind of an interesting thing. The calendar is really screwed up, by the way, which we know. Something about this game is it had a very interesting start time. Now, not only was it normally would be a noon game, but I was in a different time zone at the time of this game, and so it ended up being about 10. And then for some reason, every time we play a bowl, I'm usually sick. I don't know what that's about, but the 2 times we played Kentucky a few years ago, I was sick, just in bed watching it, and then, I was barely getting out of bed as my dad was trying to wake me up, and he's like, Gronowski just ran it 70 yards, and we're at the 1. I'm like, oh, I gotta get my bearings. I gotta get out there and see what's going on, because I could not believe it. And I had made a joke the night before. I'm like, Diego Pavia, get ready to learn Philip Walker. And all of a sudden, I mean, he really did. Because, I mean, honestly, Diego Pavia, he didn't have that bad of a game. He's going to get a lot of hate for this, and I understand it. That's mainly because he had a loudmouth, not only talking about Iowa in the offseason, but all the shenanigans at the Heisman ceremony and just everything that he's kind of done. Anything other than a win was going to be detrimental to just how people are going to spin this game, because he did play well, 347 yards, 2 touchdowns. But honestly, what I was surprised about is this is a Heisman finalist, and maybe you could credit it to his height or whatever you want to say, but his awareness in the pocket, I could not believe how bad it was. Because when you think about early in the game, there were a couple key Iowa delayed blitzes. And if you don't know what that means, either a guy falls back in coverage or they're just waiting, acting like they're going to be in coverage, and then they dart at him, and it just felt like he was not ready. I don't know what types of blitzes he's seeing in the SEC, but for some reason, he didn't bring his A game in that department. I was really surprised by that, and that really set the momentum early. Because if you watch this game, Vanderbilt was driving. They were about at midfield, and he just gets blown up, and he actually got, launched back. There's videos, I was like, oh my gosh, that was a huge hit. But I thought that his awareness was a little off. I felt like he should have been able to sense that. I don't know. Maybe that's too much to ask, but I think it's also something to note that he was also the leading rusher. They didn't help him out too much in that department. He was also out his starting tight end. But, I mean, you think about the rushing game, 15 carries, 36 yards, and a touchdown for him. No one else cracked 10 yards. That's crazy. No one else did. So, it wasn't a great game for them. But something that was interesting is that a lot of people were saying that the SEC wasn't taking these bowl games seriously. And it felt like that was the case for Vanderbilt early, and I think that's going to be a cop-out. And I think most of the game you cannot say that, but the shenanigans at the end of the first half was very odd from Vanderbilt. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, they did a very interesting punt. It was really, really strange. So Martel Hyde, he's the punter for Vanderbilt. Something that was very interesting about this was I understand that Caden Weegan is the top returner in maybe the Big Ten, maybe all of college football. He's certainly up there. But for Hyde to kind of roll out and keep walking without punting and then punt beyond the line of scrimmage, well after too, it was very confusing, and it was stupid because we got the ball right where he was kicking it, pretty much the line of scrimmage, because he kicked past the line of scrimmage. Now, if you haven't seen this play, you should definitely check it, because talking about this, I'm still very confused why this was done, why this was a decision, because it was 7-3 at this point, I believe. We had the lead, but, I mean, we were just shortening the game, stopping them on defense, and then you give us the ball at the 20? That's the only reason we got the Vander Zee touchdown, because of the field position you gave us. If you're going to do this goofy little punt where you run past the line of scrimmage, why not just keep running? Why not just go for it at that point? Because he might have been able to get it. I don't know if he gets there, but why not just punt the ball? Why not just punt the ball? Why not just punt it out of bounds? It makes no sense. And I think that's a big part of why they lost, because you look at the final score, 34-27. Imagine if they don't just basically give us free points. I'm still very confused with that decision. I don't know if that was something that they had said where, okay, we want you to roll and then waste enough time so the guys get down there. Just give them enough time so that Weejan can't make a play on this, because I will give credit to them, though, because every time Weejan did return it, it was usually a big play, because that's what he does. He has that big play ability on special teams. But it's not worth giving them the ball right at the 10 or wherever it was, just completely flipping any momentum you had. And not to say that they had any crazy momentum, but you're just giving Iowa free points for no reason. And I don't know if we drive down, we'd probably just get a field goal. It's probably 10-3 at halftime, and that would really have an impact on the final score. So very confusing from Vanderbilt. Now, I think there's a lot of incompetencies from Vanderbilt in this game. Not only Diego Pavia's awareness, but he did figure that out, but they could not run the ball at all. That punt was really, really goofy. They couldn't tackle Gronowski. They really couldn't tackle Morton. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I said his name wrong. Kamari Moulton was a monster. He had so many angry runs in this game. You could tell he wanted this win. 14 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown. He was a menace, and I think what was one of the funniest plays was he shrugged off several guys, and it was like a 40-yard play to get inside the 5. And then the guy that tackled him was talking a bunch of crap after he got up. It's just first off, look at the scoreboard. And second off, he just gassed your defense. So I don't know why the Vanderbilt players were talking this whole game. I understand it's a sport, and I'm not saying they should get penalized or fined or anything. I'm not arguing for that. I'm just saying have some awareness about the scoreboard is just what I was thinking. I don't understand why you'd talk that much. It's kind of like when you see players do a touchdown celebration and they're going all out when they're down by 40 or something. It's all right, it's not that. Come on. What are we celebrating for? Look at the scoreboard. There's nothing to celebrate about right now. I don't know. That's just my thought. But something I was a little upset about, Patterson. I do like him as a back. He lost 3 yards on the day. But Xavier Williams, he had 5 carries, 25 yards. I think he's going to be a really great guy in the future. And then Gronowski, 10 carries, 54 yards, and a touchdown. We did a little tush-push special, or they call it the Gronowski-Plowski, out in Iowa City. And honestly, what I'm most proud of is Iowa's ability to keep the lead. Because you look at the second half, it was 14-3, and then they extended, it was 21-3. Vanderbilt started coming back. They had a one-play touchdown, 70 yards or so, and then they kept scoring. But you look at the third and fourth quarter, they outscored us in the third quarter, right? 10-14. But then the fourth quarter, we scored another 10, where it was just another thing where I'm what team am I watching? We blow these leads. Go back to the Indiana game. Go back to the Oregon game. Go back to the USC game. We had leads in a lot of these games, and we found ways to choke them, especially the USC one. This game felt very similar to the way the USC game started, and we found a way to lose. We found a way to backdoor into a loss in that one, and that was so frustrating, and that's what I was really just honestly so appreciative of this game, because it felt like a reconciliation for all of those losses beforehand. Now, I think one of the biggest disappointments is when you look at our record, 9-4. This does not feel like a 9-4 team. A few years ago, we went 10-2. We were bad. We were not 10-2 quality. We should not have been. There's a good argument that was the worst 10 win team in college football history. I don't know. I'll have to check the list on that. But you could definitely make the argument, because what happened after we went 10-2? Blown out by Michigan in the Big Ten Championship. I was there. And then got blown out by Tennessee in the bowl game out in Florida. I was also at that one. I don't know why. I guess I'm a masochist. I don't know why I'd want to go to both of those. And I think we scored a combined 3 points in both of those. It might have been 6 points. Honestly, I'm not sure. But if you check those scores, why did I go to both of those games? Very silly decisions. But think about that. Just think about that for a minute. That team went 10-4, 10-2 regular season, and this team went 9-4. This team mops that other one out of the water. Because when you look at what Iowa did this season, you think about the teams that we lost to, Indiana is the number 1 team in the country. Indiana is playing in the national championship this week. Iowa had them. We had them. I was at this one as well. And we had them. And I don't mean to put too much flack on Drew Stevens, because he made a huge kick against Oregon. He made huge kicks against Michigan State for the win. Against Vanderbilt, he had several to keep the lead. But if he hits that one against Indiana, or if Gronowski doesn't get injured and we can just convert a third down, if he hits an easy screen pass, that's a first down, we run out the clock, and we actually beat Indiana. Now, I'll say this real quick. I don't hate Indiana. I actually really like them. They're probably my second favorite team. I grew up a lot of my life in Indiana. So if that type of game, if we were going to lose like that to any team, I would choose Indiana. Like, if that was Ohio State, like, I would be still pretty upset about that. I'm like, all right. Where it's just like, obviously, like, I like Indiana. I like all the success that they're having. But, like, if you were to ask me, would you switch the success of the seasons? Like, would you say Iowa and Indiana were to swap places right now? I would probably take that because I love my team. But if it is going to happen for a Big Ten team, I mean, Indiana is probably best case. But would have loved to have that one. And it's like, all right, I know they're having a great season, but it's like, man, we had them. And then when you look at some of our other losses, I mean, it gets a little more egregious. USC, I don't understand how we choked that one. That one we had a huge lead. Oregon was a little more, we were losing all game. And then Gronowski with the effort on fourth down gets in. And then we had a 2-point conversion, but then they waved it off. Said his feet slid, but the camera was fuzzy, but they called it good on the field. Very confusing officiating. It probably wasn't good, but I don't know how you overturned it when the camera is covered and you can't really see what's going on. So that one was frustrating. Honestly, I think that's the biggest takeaway. It was a great season, but we did leave a lot on the field. And at the end of the day, I'm just glad that it finished the way it did. Because imagine Vanderbilt came back and we lost that. And then we're 8-5, lost 5 games that we shouldn't have. That would have been a lot worse. So at least we ended on a high note. At least we ended with some positivity. And at least we can say, man, like, this was a great year. One of our better years in recent memory. And I'm kind of a younger fan. So we claim 6 national championships. I think they only recognize 1. I was not around for any of those. And then even like 10 years ago or something with C.J. Beathard when they were in the Big Ten championship and they ended up losing. Could have won and made it to the playoffs. I vaguely remember that. I don't really remember. So this was one of the better seasons that I actually remember. And I'd say the best one was kind of a collapse in 2021 where we were like number 2 in the country and then lost out at a certain point. Because of friggin' Purdue, that's one of the biggest reasons I don't like Purdue, because they ruined the best season that I witnessed as a fan and they just crumbled everything. But at the end of the day, we're going to miss the seniors. We're going to miss a lot of the people that move on. We're going to miss Kirk Ferentz in a few years, but at least he'll be back next year. And honestly, I'm just hoping that we can build off of this and say, okay, we did get to 9 games, 9 wins, and it should have been more. So I'm hoping in the future we can take that next step, because this should not have been a 9-win season. This should have been better. We should have at least had 10. I would have liked to have more, but we left a lot of plays on the field. We left a lot of games in the loss column that really should have been wins. And I think this is just going to be more to build off of as we continue to develop some of these guys, as we continue to ride with Kirk Ferentz and try to build off of this and just try to move on from Gronowski and Stevens, Nwangpa. I mean, we're losing so many top edge guys. So it's going to be tough moving on. It's going to be a tough transition, but we'll see how we end up faring next season as the season comes to a close. And at the end of the day, it's one of our better teams in recent memory. So I have to say it's a success, even though I think we left several games on the field. So we'll have to see how the Iowa Hawkeyes will surge on in the coming seasons. This is the Ben Buzz. I'm Benny King, and thanks for listening to Hawkeye State of Mind.